Suppose a friend of yours tells you, you know, just 5 minutes ago, I walked across the street and I went to the Coke machine and got a Coke. Well, you wouldn't require any evidence from that kind of statement, because that's a fairly believable statement. It may or may not be true. I mean, I might not have walked over there, but nevertheless, it doesn't really tickle your curiosity that much. But what if that person says, you know, I just disappeared from the front of this building and I materialized on the other side of the street and got my Coke and then rematerialized back. Now you got my attention. And now the question is, well, okay, what kind of evidence do you have that you can actually materialize and dematerialize at will? Why? Because that's a fairly extraordinary claim. And if you want me to believe that's a fairly extraordinary claim, you have to provide me fairly extraordinary evidence. So the difference between evolution and creation is that we have a pretty good explanation, by no means perfect, but a pretty good explanation, scientific and nature explanation of how life on Earth diversified. If you want me to believe otherwise, and if you want to believe that there was a direct intervention of a supernatural being, of which we have no evidence and no way to tangibly check what that supernatural being is doing, well, then the burden proceeds to it's on the other side, which is what I just said. Now, why do I say this? Because there are a couple of things about, a couple of basic observations you can make about life on Earth, which are really directly against any explanation of intelligent design. For one thing, the story of life on Earth is very idiosyncratic. It indicates, therefore, what scientists call contingency and necessity. Contingency is the hazard, a series of hazard events that have no particular reason to happen in one way or another, or at one time or another. And then necessity is natural selection. That is, the organisms that survive tend to be the ones that have the most fertile progeny. Well, one big example of contingency is the extinction of the dinosaurs. They got bad luck that day, 65 million years ago, when a meteor struck the Earth and wiped them out. They and several hundred thousand other species. There's no reason why that could have happened. Should have happened one way or the other. It just did. There's some speculation, which is kind of interesting to think about, that if it didn't happen, dinosaurs would have evolved something like consciousness, and there will be a dinosaur here talking to you guys and trying to explain why is it that all these little mammals around here haven't made it beyond the stage of rats, which is what mammals were when the dinosaurs went extinct. It is possible that one of the reasons you're here tonight to enjoy these talks is because the dinosaurs went extinct 65 million years ago, but that was certainly a matter of contingency. The other kind of observation, which actually Darwin already made, is that organisms, contrary to what creationists were made to believe, are not well designed at all. In fact, they're fairly badly designed. One of the best examples of badly designed organs is actually the eye. The human eye is usually brought up as an example of extremely complicated and very well designed structure. Well, it is extremely complicated. It has been designed by natural selection over hundreds of millions of years, and it works pretty well, although not perfectly, obviously, because right now I see an ocean of more or less undifferentiated people, if I take these off. So it's not perfect. But it's not perfect in a more fundamental way. For example, not many people realize that the human eye has blood vessels right in front of it. Okay, in front of the retina, instead of where a good engineer would put them, which is behind. One of the things that does is it causes all sorts of vision problems, including the fact that you have a blind spot. Now, could it be designed better? Yes. Has it been designed better? Yes. If you look at the eye of squids or octopuses or animals of that sort, actually they have the blood vessels in the back, not in the front. So I will conclude that either there was no intelligent designer and squids just got luckier than human beings, or the intelligent designer liked human beings much better than squids much better than human beings, which is a possible conclusion. Now, thank you. I will actually not be this is my last slide for the introductory statement. If you have not followed all of what I said, or if you would like to learn more, that is the webpage where this thing is down there. It's called FTBio.UTK.edu Skeptic. I will repeat this later on during the rebuttal. As I said, it's quite difficult for people that are flooded with a lot of information all at once, actually to be able not to follow the whole thing, and that happens to me quite often. So the presentation is up there for anybody to see. Now the question is, what is the evidence? Let me present you one little game. Suppose that you were looking at these pictures. be able, without hesitation, to pick a human being as different from common ancestors of human beings or from other species of primates? In some cases it might be easy, but in some cases it might be a little bit difficult. It's not that easy. Here's the human being, it's down here. But look, Homo habilis and Erectus skulls look pretty much very similar, and those are two of our ancestors. And anything, in fact, within this slide is not that different. It's a clearly variation in the same theme. You can tell an Australopithecus, for example, from any of the Homos, because an Australopithecus was a much different kind of animal, although it is in the direct line of descent of human beings. But the point is, can you really look at a picture like that and think that you are completely different from anything else that is up there other than this? You have the same bones, they're organized in the same way, you have the same kind of chemical substances in the blood, you're made of the same proteins, of the same kind of DNA. In fact, the difference in DNA between human and chimp, on average, is only about 2%. Can any rational person look at something like that and say, no, I really don't think that we're made of the same thing. We're completely different things. We're completely independent. We have no relationship whatsoever. That's what evolution tells you. You do have a relationship. If you like it or not, I mean, I don't particularly enjoy being the descendant of this little fellow over here, but nevertheless, that is our best guess to what actually really happened. Thank you very much.
Biblical view of creation against those who believe in evolution. And I appreciate you pointing out the obvious similarities between all those different animals. I think it ought to be obvious to any freshman law student that that proves a common designer, not a common ancestor. But we'll get into more of that later. Anyway, I would prefer a point-by-point debate because Dr. Bigliucci made about 30 different points, and I've got several pages of notes, and we're never going to get through them all. In a point-by-point debate, instead of minute by minute, you can take one topic and finish it, as opposed to, give 20 points and then you don't get time to respond to all of them. In a point-by-point debate, the opponent simply cannot change the subject to draw attention away from the fact that they don't have an answer. Okay, now, we need to define some terms. According to your website funding, you spent $60,000 in one project, $124,000, $70,000, total $650,000 you've had in grant money to study evolution. I think I'm the underdog. Now, I've never received one penny in federal funding, and I don't get paid by the university to conduct my ministry. We do this all on my own expense. And I noticed in your website and in your book that you have done a lot of study on plants. You have the dicot, the monocot, and the tricot. I think the average 5-year-old would say that's still a plant. It's the same kind of animal. The Bible says they'll bring forth after their kind, which is exactly what you've seen happen in your laboratory. So you've done a great job of confirming God's word, and thank you very much for that. All right, we need to define some terms. Evolution is defined as a number of different things in the dictionary. Movement of a series, but the part we're talking about tonight is the development of a species, organism, etc., from its original to its present state. Well, now, exactly how far back do you go to get the original? He spent most of his 30 minutes tonight talking about, evolution is only, once life gets here. Well, where did life come from? It really is part of the argument because the evolutionists ultimately has to believe that we all came from a rock